We have a great bond with the people of Egypt, and I look forward to working with the president.
Egyptian President Abdel Fattah El-Sisi makes his first trip to the White House after shaky relations with President Obama. What's the future of the relationship now? I'm Anand Naidu in Washington, D.C., and this is The Heat. U.S. President Donald Trump welcomed Egyptian President El-Sisi to the White House this week. Trump had high praise for the Egyptian leader and reiterated American support for the military and strategic partner. For more on the meeting, CGTN's Daniel Ryntjes joins us now from the White House. And Daniel, this is the Egyptian president's first visit to the White House. He was not invited by Barack Obama when he was president. How do Sisi and Trump see each other?
I think they see each other in largely positive terms. There's obviously a sort of personality issue there with Donald Trump seeming to enjoy the company of people who have this sort of strong image type of leadership. And I think that Donald Trump comes to this with the lens of US interests, pragmatism, a sort of transactional style of foreign policy. And fundamentally speaking, Donald Trump is very interested in how he can fulfill his campaign promise to defeat ISIL. It's a tall order. He's going to need allies in the region. There are no probably better intelligence links and military links in that region that covers not only the Middle East but also North Africa, specifically Libya, the Sinai Peninsula. These are all problem areas. And Egypt does have a very good military intelligence infrastructure that can cooperate. So Donald Trump has an interest in being particularly friendly with El-Sisi because of that. He's willing to, sideline other issues which we will talk about. Now, El-Sisi is in a situation where domestically the economy is struggling. He was asked to devalue the currency by the IMF, seeking a very large $12 billion loan from the IMF. That devaluation has brought inflation up to around 30%. That's made the price of goods and services in Egypt very expensive for the very poor. That means that he's going to have to really proffer some economic solutions moving forward. He's looking to the United States to be one of those partners to increase and broaden its investment, and he's going to be meeting with business leaders during the rest of his trip to the United States. But fundamentally speaking, Sisi has always been someone who's struggled with the notion of the Muslim Brotherhood. And so those two issues of security really align between the two.
And Daniel, the major themes today on Monday included the global fight against ISIL and Egypt's economic reforms, as you pointed out. But human rights groups are also raising concerns about the US president, that the US president wouldn't push back on alleged human rights violations in Egypt. So what's the White House been saying about that?
Well, interestingly, Donald Trump even criticized President Barack Obama for not doing more on human rights, not pressing the Egyptians more during a period when there's been essentially a pretty strong crackdown on opposition forces in Egypt. And so coming into this, the White House has said, we're not willing to raise human rights issues publicly, we will raise them privately, which means that essentially it's less of a priority at this point for the White House to push this agenda. They've obviously proffered the security above that. But it's not just human rights groups who are pushing the White House on this issue. I expect Congress to continue to watch this closely. And if they feel as if the Egyptians are getting a completely free ride and that Donald Trump prefers them over human rights too much, he may overplay the hand and Congress may push back, especially if Donald Trump asks the Congress to provide extra funds to the Egyptians. So in the end, I don't expect there to be any change in the current dynamics financially, with the $1.3 billion in military aid staying in the law and then the $250 million in civilian aid. But fundamentally, I think, as I say, this is a relationship built on pragmatism at a time when there is deep insecurity about the state of ISIL and other militant groups in the region.
Thanks, Daniel. That's CGTN's Daniel Ryntjes reporting from the White House.